Wednesday, and I have a guest. I got Lauren Perez in studio, and we're going to be talking about Camp OTA. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Share this out. Let me know what you got going on today. Here we go.
A whole new concept.
Good morning. This is KHEA 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. My name is Gardy, and I have a guest in studio. I'm going to let her introduce herself and then share the organization she's talking about today. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I'm Lauren Perez, and I'm with Camp OTA, a microgreens farm and edible flowers farm based out of Alvin, Texas.
Lauren, how have you been? It's been a long time.
It has been a really long time.
Yeah, so Alvin, Texas is just right down the street, right? And there's a lot of cool things that happen there. And I guess one of these is it's a microgreen farm. So if somebody's not familiar with what in the world that is, what is it?
So microgreens are actually the very early stages of mature vegetables and herbs. So, but within that small window of their growth stage, they actually provide way more nutrients than their mature stages. So, in layman's terms, a cup of microgreens has way more nutrients, antioxidants, vitamins, and all that stuff than a cup of full-grown vegetables.
Really?
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's literally a micro. Like if it kept growing, it would turn into a vegetable or something else.
We just harvest it before it gets too grown.
Is there any that sneak through the cracks?
Sometimes, but we usually catch it when it's, I guess, a toddler rather than a teenager.
Full.
Or adult. Yeah.
Okay.
With microgreens, it's become super popular in culinary. So whenever you go to a fancy restaurant or even just a regular restaurant, you'll see the garnishes on top.
Yeah.
And most of those are microgreens.
Okay. I see those, and sometimes I'm scared to eat it.
No, don't be afraid to eat it.
Right? We'll be thinking it's like, okay, is this meant to be eaten as a decoration?
So on the safe side, anything that's on your plate from a restaurant, it has to be edible. So if you see a flower on there, eat it. If you see any crazy garnishes, eat it. So,
okay. So even flowers. So you had mentioned it's edible flowers as well.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that most Texas wildflowers are completely edible.
Really?
So, yeah. So we actually, a lot of caterers, or you see flowers on the charcuterie boards and everything like that, all of those are edible. We work with a lot of caterers in the area. And we actually have a really great list of pastry chefs, too, that love to use our flowers. So,
Okay. So how do you, I guess, like, who is going to be able to come check out this, the experience? Is it just for caterers? Is it just for people who are cooks? Or is this something, I have kids, is this something I could bring my kids? Is it something they can tour?
Yeah, of course. So we are actually open 6 days a week. We operate 24/7, but as far as open to the public, we are open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. So you can come check things out. And when you think of a farm, you usually think cows, chickens, animals, huge rows of produce and all that stuff. But with microgreens, you're actually growing them in a controlled environment. So we have a grow room that's air conditioned and everything like that to make sure everything is sanitized and grows properly. So we do have garden beds, and that's where we grow our flowers and our bigger produce. But then we have a grow room for our microgreens, and then we have a really snazzy greenhouse for some other flowers that we grow.
Does that mean it can grow year round?
Yep, for the most part.
What kind of conditions does it take to grow these? Does it depend on what it is?
Not really. Most microgreens like to be pretty cool, very low humidity. And because they are microgreens, they don't require as much water or soil. So it's kind of, we actually sell home kits if people want to start growing their own microgreens, because that's kind of fun to do. It's a lot easier than garden bed growing, and I say that from personal experience. But microgreens are really cool. And it's really cool when you walk into our grow room because all you see is color. Because we have microgreens anywhere from fuchsia, pink, purple, green. I mean, it's kind of just like a rainbow of colors.
Okay. So when I think of Alvin, I think of like Froberg, farms, and there's some other things, and then Bio Wildlife is like on the way to Alvin. Yeah. But I had not heard of Camp OTA yet.
So Camp OTA just went live as a nonprofit farm October 1st. Before, we were just a retailer that sold microgreens, and the founder, Nicholas Bodnard, wanted to do something more and wanted to do something that helped the community. So after us going through, I guess kind of Hurricane Ike started it all, but, after the freeze that we all went through, and then Harvey, we kind of realized that when we lose power or water or there's so much damage, we're kind of left in limbo, and sometimes we can't seem to get through that short period of time from, the instant devastation to starting to rebuild. When you go to grocery stores and they've lost power, so they can't sell you food, or the ones that are working and operating, but they're completely empty from what you need. So we were like, okay, what can we do to kind of help people get through those temporary disaster relief times? And Nick had been following this organization called Earthship Biotecture. So if you look it up, if you Google it, it's these really cool homes that are built from upcycled waste.
Mm-hmm.
And they build them according to the area that they're in. So they use dirt and waste according to the area, so it actually works with that climate and that environment. And they look like works of art, because you can see like these glass bottles that are used as mosaic windows and all that. It's amazing. So he wanted to take that inspiration and turn it into a temporary disaster relief shelter. So he has been studying for the past month the engineering, the natural water filtration systems, the natural heating and cooling of certain soils that we can use in this area. And he's going to, I guess probably by the end of December is our first deadline. We're going to build a chicken coop for our chickens.
Okay.
That does that by itself. Then we're going to elevate it and build a dome that's about 12 feet in diameter and use that on our land as a relief shelter and experiment with it and stuff. And we're actually teaming up with some engineers in the area. And then after that, we want to be able to go to either lower income or people who just don't necessarily have the resources to different communities and build these disaster relief shelters that people can go and have gardens that are grown on it, that have instant water filtration systems, that have compostable bathrooms and all that kind of stuff, so people can be comfortable while they're trying to assess the damage of their homes or the rating for flooding to recede and all that other kind of stuff.
Could this be potentially used for, I don't know about permanent housing, but for the homeless population?
So it actually is used right now as permanent housing.
Okay.
So it started and originated in New Mexico, and these are gorgeous houses, like absolutely gorgeous, and it looks almost futuristic just because of the way the design is. But you've got to realize that they've taken a lot of the basics from back in the day before electricity and like true engineering and design, and kind of combined it with new world things, and they're absolutely gorgeous pieces of artwork homes, and people use them just to be trendy, and people build them just to be trendy. And that's another thing, in the far future that we're hoping that we can inspire people to do. But for right now, the immediate future is just to make sure that we can get it locked in on our specific area to make sure that it's usable.
How much property do y'all have over there?
So we have 1.5 acres.
Okay.
So it's not super big, but we're able to do a lot of work within that small space.
Yeah, and if it's microgreens, and you were saying, like,
Exactly.
I feel like they're so small.
Yeah, no, it's
you don't have that much land, and so then you can kind of build as you go, and then with a shelter and relief and stuff.
So yeah, we're gonna start with a hen house, which is going to be pretty cool. We absolutely love our red hens. They're also a little feisty, so they're gonna get a new home, and then we'll do our own little disaster dome. And since we actually have a toddler on property, so our maintenance lives on property, and that's actually Nick's sister and brother-in-law.
I was going to ask, is the toddler the maintenance person?
She will be soon. She's growing into this business. But these domes, since they're so pretty and really cool, it'll actually double as like her playhouse or just other little cool hangouts and stuff like that. And then our next step is to actually build an open space venue on our property, so we can host educational conferences. We can host, Girl Scout troops, Boy Scout troops. We can do all that kind of stuff.
So if somebody wanted to reach out and ask, how can I build, even like a city or another nonprofit, say, hey, how can we build this for, these uses? It has this benefits. Is that something y'all would share or partner?
Yeah, definitely. We're looking to partner with people. We want to get this first year under our belt to make sure that everything's good, up to code. Especially in this area, we're focusing on Brazoria County, Galveston County, and a little bit of Harris County. And so with, like windstorm, all that other kind of stuff, we need to make sure that everything is 100% up to code, and everything is, the engineering and everything is exact. And then, proceed with that. For sure, we'd love to partner with people. I mean, disaster relief, or like how you had pointed out and we had mentioned, in our own little group meetings, possibly building shelters for people transitioning, from homeless to, whatever their future holds and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These are all huge possibilities. And what's kind of crazy in a cool way is the cost of it is almost next to nothing. So
Really?
yeah.
So so is it all recycled items?
So you do have to bring in some concrete
Okay.
and that kind of stuff, but the average cost of the home without labor and all that other kind of stuff is between $5,000 and $8,000, and that's on top of what you're using to upcycle and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So that doesn't seem like it's that much at all.
Not at all. I mean, that's the whole thing. We one of the biggest issues you hear a lot of people talk about are tires. You know, how people are just thrown and you can't burn them, you can't really dispose of them properly, and a lot of the bases of these houses are tires. And so you sit there and just pound tires. But yeah, it makes up a huge part of these homes. Yeah,
there's so much. There's all these things that we use, and then they just end up like you see a tire and like, why are you all dumping this in the ditch? It's clogging, and then there's flood, issues and stuff like that. But I guess I was reminded of Nike. So Nike started making these soles of shoes from like everything that was left on the floor. And I thought that was really cool. I know my wife, has a pair, and so it just seems like, hey, there has to be something we can use these items for.
And when people hear us say, oh, we try to educate people about sustainable living, they're like, I'm not going to give up my life and live off the grid and blah, blah. And we're like, no, there's no way that realistically most of our population can live off the grid and, provide their own food and hunt their own animals and that kind of stuff. We're just trying to educate people on how small steps can actually provide a better future for our environment.
And sustainable living, can that mean different things to different people?
Oh, yeah,
I suppose?
Definitely. And that's the whole thing. I mean, sustainable living can mean one household completely getting rid of all plastic bags and just using reusable bags. We team up with the Bay Area Farmers Market every Sunday, so we're new vendors there. And, they're they're giving away 5,000 reusable bags to some customers in a little while, and the statistics are one reusable bag, and it's washable too. One reusable bag gets rid of 60 or 80 plastic bags, and that's just one reusable bag. So thinking, for everybody who shoves all the reusable bags in their car and completely give up plastic, that's a huge difference already. And that's just one thing that your household can do.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about starting a business? And I know that's not the easiest thing to do, but then starting a nonprofit, it adds a different layer in there because it's the same, but it's pretty different as well. What does that look like? Was that difficult?
It's funny because I've started my own business before. I've helped other people rebrand and all that other stuff, other businesses. I've worked with nonprofits before, but I have never from scratch, from the beginning, started a nonprofit. And it is even more intimidating than starting a regular for-profit company, but it is super fun, and I've learned so much. I feel like now I can, if I could earn degrees based off experience, I could be a paralegal, a grant writer, business marketing and average, like all that kind of stuff. So.
You can. I think you can. There's some stuff that you can get. I know my dad, when he went, as an adult later in life, had worked a whole career, was like, I'm going to go back to school. I was like, go for it, Dad, right? And so some of his experience kind of checked off those things as well. So
it's been a really awesome learning experience. But with a nonprofit, you have to think about, all of the legal aspects of things. Taxes are a completely different beast. When people ask about write-offs, you have to make sure that you do that properly. And, everything is kept with the most precision of, like the best eyes, the best record keeping, the best filing to make sure everything's correct.
Yes. So, do people have the opportunity to support, maybe this is a vision that they want to get behind, whether that's with money or their hands? How can they do that? Or what can they do?
We make most of our profits right now just from the sale of microgreens and edible flowers. So you can actually, and we love residential customers. We actually do free delivery every Tuesday and Friday. So you can go to campota.square.site, and that's our online shopping store. So we have really great micro mixes that aren't as intimidating, because some people are like, I have no idea what a Ms. America mustard microgreen is.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing before I got into this business. But we have a really awesome acre mix. We have an amore mix and that kind of stuff. And it goes into brief descriptions of what they are. And they're not just for garnishing. So my youngest son, while he does eat quite a bit, he's not a fan of like the freshest taste of greens. So I hide him in meatloafs, or I'll hide him in other stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he still gets the health benefits. But when we're actually about to come out with a cookbook on how to cook with microgreens.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's less intimidating. So the easiest, most instant way you can support us is just buy our microgreens and set it up for free delivery on Tuesdays or Fridays. You can also donate on that website, campota.square.site. But hopefully in the next 6 months or so, we're going to be looking for volunteers to start helping us build this hen house. So
I feel like that's a good opportunity for students just to come out. You know, even I know that a lot of times there's like volunteer hours, and I've seen it, and it seems like it'd be fun because I've seen some things and I'm like, man, that's like could be boring or whatever, but this seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little labor intensive, but it's in like the coolest, most interesting way possible because you're literally like designing glass or tires and putting it into such a cool little thing, and you get to learn some pretty cool things that aren't as boring and a lot of things that make you go, well, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, volunteer hours are definitely going to be coming up. We've already actually through our work program that we work with Workforce Solutions, we actually just hired on one of our interns who's in the FFA program in Dickinson and that kind of stuff, and he fell in love with working for us. So we hired him on permanently.
That's awesome. Yeah, Workforce Solutions is great.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with them before, and so when it came for this opportunity, you know, when people who need, like you said, community service hours, or they have their teen program where they're trying to teach kids how to hold a job and conduct themselves while holding a job, we use them too, and it's been a really good experience.
You know, I see a lot of people moving to the Alvin area, like even like friends that have moved out of Galveston County, League City, some other places, and just going down to Alvin. But I haven't made my way over there in, I don't think this year, honestly. But is it growing?
Yeah, I want to say down Highway 6, so Santa Fe, Alvin, and definitely Manville. People are looking for land. I think COVID really pushed people into small gardens or greenhouses. You see a lot of people now with their own chickens, you know, or putting a goat in their yard and that kind of stuff. And so people want land, and they want to do that as a hobby. And little do they know it's actually sustainable living. It's them helping the environment, and it's a huge thing. So all of those little towns on Highway 6 definitely growing, and Alvin's getting huge, and so is Manville.
I wonder if, sustainable living, if someone hears that, there's probably some people who are like, I don't know, it just scares them away, and they don't even realize, hey, just using a reusable bag, that is actually, you're
huge.
getting behind it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely huge. I was actually talking to somebody so today I'm wearing a shirt that said, I'll be in my office, and it's plants. And it's a farm equipment. And the other one, another shirt I had worn for like networking and stuff, it said, I wet my plants. And so somebody was laughing and brought it up, and it segued into, Camp OTA. And they're like, oh, so you guys are just a bunch of hippies. I said, no, we shower and we don't have dreadlocks and we do drive cars. But we're just little by little trying to change, little things here and there to make sure that the earth is good and, better off for our kids and their kids and their kids and their kids.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing we've seen just by the lack of proper drainage and that kind of stuff, the flooding that can happen.
Yes. Yeah, so you were talking about earlier about people like wanting land and that, chickens and some other stuff. Have you seen any of the stuff going on with Lamarck and chickens?
No.
It's in the news. Well, the council's been meeting about it, and there's people that are for it and against it, and I think they finally came to a resolution that is good. Some people are, saying like, maybe this shouldn't be in the news, or why is Lamarck in the news for this? It's like, hey, this is actually people coming together on both sides and finding common ground and the way things could and should work for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people, one of our neighbors was afraid for us because I'm about to get chickens just from what I've learned from Camp OTA.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have teenage boys and they eat a lot. Like we go through so many eggs at home.
Yeah.
And, my neighbor raised a concern. Well, what about pests? Like, don't they attract snakes and that kind of stuff? And so I pointed out, well, a lot of people have banana trees, just like you do, sir. And those actually attract snakes and huge rats and that kind of stuff. Everything in nature is going to attract something. But as long as you take care of it and get ahead of it, everything's fine. So, I mean, if you set up your chicken coop properly, you can actually get rid of pests. And you can use natural ways like there's this thing called like lime dust, and you spray it around, and the chickens love to even take dust baths in it, and it keeps pests away. So, snakes, rats, all that kind of stuff. So there's different ways that you can take care of small concerns that a lot of people have. And with everything being built up so much, unless you're living on land and that kind of stuff, you actually don't have those pests because they don't have anywhere to live near you. So they go elsewhere.
Okay, so what was the name of the temporary shelter thing? What's it called? Does it have a name?
It's inspired by Earthship Biotecture.
Okay.
And that's what everybody can kind of look up in Google to see the direction that we're going in. It's not going to be exactly like that just because, again, we're not trying to build homes. We're trying to build temporary relief.
Okay.
And then hopefully something bigger and better in the future. But we are, right now it's Disaster Dome, but that seems like super intimidating. Yeah.
That's a movie. Like it seems like it would be, no, it's not actually a movie, but yeah.
It also, looking at your wrestling belt, that should totally be a wrestling arena.
The Disaster Dome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So how much land, if somebody wanted to have their own Disaster Dome, maybe just for a chicken coop or anything like that. I mean, can you build these any size? Do they have to have a certain amount of land to make this work?
No, you can build them any size. The chicken coops, I think in diameter, are only 5 or 6 feet, which is essentially what you depending on how many chickens you have.
Yeah.
So a lot of people do start off with 8 to 10 chickens, and so that's perfect because chickens need usually about 12 by 12 space to lay eggs, and then they also need room to roost, and that's two separate things. So you do need at least that much space. And then for a comfortable disaster relief shelter, it's about 12 by 12 feet in diameter.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. You can fit comfortably into a backyard. And a lot of people have already said, oh, I have small children. So even when we're not going through hurricane season, they can like play in it and hang out with it and that, that kind of stuff because it is temperature regulated naturally with the stuff that we use.
That's awesome. And if somebody wanted to come and learn, I mean, y'all, I don't know if there's like a blueprint for it, but y'all would be perfectly okay, showing them how, teaching them how.
Exactly. The whole point of this is educating people. While it's nice to make money to continue to support our cause, the whole thing is education and awareness based. So anything that we can do to help other people, whether it's slowly make the earth a better place or keep them safer. It's all a win for us.
Okay, if you're just joining us, I'm talking to Lauren Perez. She's here talking about Camp OTA in Alvin, Texas. If someone's just tuning in, could you kind of go through that run through, I guess, what the plan is, what Camp OTA has and offers, and then, the plan of what y'all are rolling out?
Yeah, for sure. So Camp OTA originally started off as a microgreen and edible flowers farm. And the founder decided that he wanted to take it to the next level and bigger ideas and plans. So we are now studying and implementing what we call a disaster dome, but starting off with a chicken coop, then a survival dome, and then bigger and better things. But these domes are hurricane resistant. They're mostly disaster resistant. It helps in times of flooding, hurricanes, strong winds, freezes, anything like that. And all of these domes are going to have their own natural water filtration systems, compostable bathrooms, a place where you can grow your garden inside or on the dome. And it's naturally heated and cooled with the way that we build it. And so this provides temporary relief for citizens, residents, all that kind of stuff to have a place to stay while they're assessing damage to their homes and property and all that kind of stuff.
All right. And if someone wants to learn more about that, it's called Earthship Biotecture, which is what it's inspired by.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And then you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We even have a cool TikTok where you see us dancing with chickens a lot.
What is the TikTok? Camp OTA?
Yep. So it's either at Camp OTA or at Camp OTA Inc. So you can see us on all of those handles.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share this morning?
No, everything's good. We're excited to kind of introduce ourselves to the community because today's the 20th, so we're 20 days old. So
brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
That's awesome. Very cool. So I'm excited to follow it and see where everything goes and just to learn more.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for hanging out today.
Definitely.
This is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM.